Welcome all. Welcome people in East Africa, and welcome those people who are still up in Karachi. So we're ready for our afternoon sessions, and our first thing that is up is our second keynote for the day, which I'm delighted to introduce. Our speaker today, right now, is Professor Christa Salamandra, who is Associate Professor of Anthropology at Lehman College in the Graduate Center, City University of New York. She has a PhD from the Institute of Social and Cultural Anthropology at the University of Oxford. And she's taught at a number of different very distinguished institutions, including SOAS at the University of London, at the American University of Beirut, and at the University of Copenhagen. She's a specialist in Syrian media and is the author of The New Old Damascus, Authenticity and Distinction in Urban Syria, and the co-editor of Syria from Reform to Revolt. And again, she's a recipient of many awards, and she serves on the editorial boards of the Journal of Arab Media and Society, Middle East Critique, and Cyber Orient. Her talk today is entitled The Past Progressive, History and Belonging in Syrian Social Drama. So please welcome and join me in welcoming Dr. Salamandra.
And I'd like to thank the organizers for inviting me. Syria, with its lilting dialect, classically trained actors, and dark satirical realism, burst onto the pan-Arab satellite airways of the 2000s in what has become known as the drama outpouring, al-Thawra al-Dramiyya. The industry helped to shape Arab popular culture in and for the new millennium, building on an older generation's theatrical, cinematic, and televisual traditions to build a distinctive form of its leading cultural product, the 30-episode musalsal. The form has developed around and transformed the practice of Ramadan, TV's key broadcast season. In the absence of participatory politics in Syria, as in much of the Arab world, drama has become a key arena of contestation over past and present, one involving a paradoxical blend of complicity and critique. The politics of drama production reveal a complex interplay of state control and reformist impulse, one that has endured throughout the anti-regime turned civil war and proxy war, with production remaining at half its pre-conflict level. Syrian series draw on a variety of sources and form a range of genres, including history, comedy, contemporary social realism, and melodrama. Out of these have emerged subgenres, including the folkloric Damascene atmosphere, heroic biopics, and the haphazard social drama, named after the Arabic term for informal settlements or shanty towns, al-Harat al-Ashwaiyyah. Audiences and producers alike read historical drama as always about the present. As I've written elsewhere, secular drama makers adopt various strategies to talk about Islam and society in ways that promote a socially liberal, cosmopolitan vision. They offer golden ages of religious tolerance, cultural flourishing, and malevolent governance that throw the contemporary condition into bitter relief. Folkloric works set in Ottoman and early 20th century Damascus wrap older ways of life in a distancing blanket of nostalgia. Now, there are notable exceptions to this, such as Zir Salem and Husram al-Shami, which were critical and critically acclaimed. And they were explorations of the distant and recent past, respectively. If depictions of the past speak to the present, I propose the inverse of this proposition. Contemporary dramas are always about the past, deployed in multiple and contradictory ways. Underlying contemporary social drama and raised in its maker's discourse is the question, what went wrong? Referencing the post-independence period when, producers argue, Syria was poised for progress and prosperity. Depictions of social and political pathologies point to the betrayal of this promise. a failed national project. Memory, conveyed through dialogue and flashback, forms a key narrative strategy. Individual stories intertwine with shared pasts. Personal histories imply collective failures. Critique of corruption conjures not merely a condition, but a process of deterioration, a metaphoric and literal decay of the body politic. Contemporary drama's dark sensibility engenders an anti-modern aesthetic of dilapidation, reflected in the informal settlements that frequently form its setting. These spaces and the unfortunates who inhabit them are not merely mired in the past. They are living a faded, degraded version of this past. Characters struggle amid now dysfunctional traces of a bygone, better place, even as their creators deride a supposedly Arab propensity to live on the glories of Islamic empire. One such work, Waiting, Al-Intizar, of 2006, formed the focal point of my ethnographic fieldwork. The series traces the life paths of characters who, through various misfortunes, end up in the ramshackle suburb of Douala. Characters are locked into a frustrating limbo, dire circumstances consigning them, in the words of the protagonist, to an endless waiting list. Haphazard neighborhood series have become now an established subgenre. Numerous evocations of urban blight, set in areas now stricken with anti-regime ferment and regime repression, followed on its heels. Ratings heels. Most notably, 2012's Medium Sugar, Sukarwasa, set in 2010, which posits the haphazard neighborhood and its pathologies as uprising precursors. And 2015's Tomorrow We'll Read Again, where the settlement becomes a refugee camp in Beirut. Les Hajj's recent regret of 2016 begins with black and white shots of informal settlements on the slopes of Mount Qassim, as its protagonist wonders, who let this happen, even before the catastrophe of war? Waiting, now a critically recognized classic, remained a niche product. Contemporary dramas rarely garner the audience of folkloric works such as the NBC blockbuster Bab el-Hara. Instead, they developed as a byproduct of converging forces, persistent authoritarianism, neoliberal reform, and the satellite television expansion. While retaining its censorship apparatus, Bashar al-Assad accelerated privatization, spurring the growth of drama production companies. Largely invulnerable to ratings, pan-Arab satellite entertainment networks such as the Saudi-owned NBC and Dubai TV fill their long broadcast hours with a range of Syrian productions. For the equivalent of what Americans call quality drama, restrictions of freedom of expression coupled with commercialization proved unexpectedly generative. The Syrian industry harnessed intellectual energies that might otherwise have animated participatory politics, social movements, journalism, higher arts, or academia. For Syria's artists and intellectuals, drama represents a mainstay of employment and the largest platform for creative endeavor. As a result, the contemporary serial has grown into a sophisticated genre imbued with political positions, social analyses, and philosophical observations. Many of these reflect the secular progressive ideologies that Arab regimes abandoned and Islamic revivalism supplanted. In the absence of market research, it's difficult to know who's watching. Waiting screenwriter Najib Nusayr recently told me that his series was an alarm that went unheeded. Some Syrians would see Nusayr's claim as hindsight self-justification. Critics see censorship as a smokescreen obscuring relationships of near total complicity. Productions do oscillate between accommodating and challenging the contemporary social and political conditions it depicts. Drama makers' motivations and the effects of their works are points of contention. Some Syrian argue that while drama may broach sensitive issues, its message ultimately promotes acquiescence. Dissident artists dismiss TV critique as a safety valve, offering repressed subjects an opportunity to vent. In contrast, I see the Majal al-Fan, the field of art as TV makers call it, as highly differentiated in quality and autonomy. I argue that while contemporary Syrians uphold key tenets of Ba'athist ideology, they also subvert it by depicting the failure of state practice, playing on the distance between rhetoric and reality. Drama makers point to what they see as regressive laws and policies and customs to question the state's modern secular self-representation. Dramatic critique spans a continuum from stark realism to romantic melodrama. Many evince Peter Brook's contention that the two forms are interwoven. All share a similarly gloomy poetics. Les Hadjo's Waiting sits on the realist end of the spectrum. His People in Love, Ahl al-Haram of 2008, represents the melodramatic. Aired on NBC, the premier pan-Arab satellite entertainment network, People in Love consisted of discrete, unhappily ending love stories. Each episode bears the title of a song by the legendary Lebanese singer Fairuz, and is played periodically, throughout and reflects its theme. Antiquated regulations in personal status law form a central theme of an episode from season 2, He's Still Cute, by Abdul Zarif, aired in Ramadan of 2008. Now, I'll show you the opening of this episode. The subtitles are mine, so I take both credit and blame.
مبروك، الله يبارك فيك. شكرا. ان شاء الله. الله يبارك فيك. شكرا. مبروك يا اولاد.
Keep forgetting. The circumstances behind this complex scenario slowly emerge. Hisham, Nadia's frantic husband, has already divorced her twice in a fit of jealous rage, each time regretting his actions and renewing the marriage. When he flies into a tantrum at her choice of a party outfit and divorces her a third time, Islamic law prevents him from remarrying her until she undertakes and consummates a marriage with another man. Nadia's uncle finds a willing groom, and the new couple have agreed to divorce the morning after the contract is signed. Perhaps we'll show the end. Yes, continue.
تعرف يمكن احنا بحاجة لإجازة.
This is them getting to know each other.
نطلع فيها على حالنا على جواتنا. يعني معقول ما في غيرهم شاشينا وعاجبنا كل الوقت؟ بالأخير بدنا نطلع يا ترى هدول الناس بيستاهلوا ولا لا؟
قلت لك
شوفي طيب لا تفتح لحتى تسألني.
مين؟
مين؟ هذا شو جابوا هلا؟ عامل في البيت؟ هشام جوزي اضبطوا يعني هشام.
إذا سمحت يا أخ، ما في لزوم لهي التصرفات بالليالي. يعني أنا بشوف إنه إنه هيك حلو، يعني ما وإن شاء الله بتم كل شيء اتفقنا عليه بكرة. قلت لك ما في لزوم لهالتصرفات. إذا سمحت روح يا أخي روح.
شو شبوح وكبولة حطوا كاس تسلوا تليفونك وين تليفونك؟ وفصلت في التليفون وشفعت لك رشدكم الله أكبر. مالي حق ضربنا خدمة للحدا صار مالي حق قلت له هون بس الصلاة بقول يعني قاعد كنتم بدكم تعرفوا بعضكم سابقا. من امتى بتعرفي هذا؟
أرجوك يا أخي خليك بيت.
انت بتعرف انه هي اول مرة بشوفها فيها وانه عم عادل هو اللي
عمو عادل وشو دلالة اللي تقولي انت ناسي خيوط المؤامرة وظليتي تستفزيني حتى رميت عليك جميل الطلاق مرة ثالثة وبعدين شفتي لي عمو عادل يحل الموضوع.
مش فاهم عيب ايه؟ عيب انا عملت حتى مجنانك هون.
لا خجلاني لسه ما شفت منه شيء. هيك الشموع حمراء وكلتوا.
أنت غلطان يا أخي.
أنا عم بحكي مع حد يخبرني.
كمان غلطان. هي كلمة
فكرك.
نعم بس.
ولك نحن استخدمناك مشان الشرع وبس.
استخدمناك؟ ماشي حق. أنا هالحق بحكي هذا كمان مخلوقة طيبة مشان الشرع وبس. ومشان الشرع بقول لك تفضل النوع من غير مردود لأنه هي مرته من حقي إني أختلف فيها بالصباح رباح.
فسر لي شو يعني صباح رباح؟
صباح رباح يعني لما تطلقها بحق لك إنها تاخذها بس هلا لا.
بس يا ريت تتذكري.
أنا ذكرني لشو؟
خلوة حرام. ما بدي أعرف شايف بعيني.
إنه قاعدين عم ناكل ونحكي وين غلط؟ شو صار يعني؟
جنس رومانسية.
عيب الشاعر عيب. نحن بدي أقتل الشاعر عيب.
انا ما بسمح لك، ما بسمح لك تحكي عنها هيك ابدا، المدام محترمه غصبا. والله
عم تشك فيني؟ كل اللي شايفه هون هو ابن اللحظة. فهيك بسببك أنت. عم بتقولي وأنا صابرة. مشان الأولاد. خلص روح تيسر مشان تيسر مشان الله خلص.
ولك أنا بحبك يا مجنون، بحبك كثير بدي عدتني مع هذا.
نحن بشر يا سيد، نحن بشر من حقنا نقعد نحكي طبعا، بنحكي لما شو بدنا نعمل.
لا ما من حقك تقعد وتحكي مع مرتي.
لا تغلط، هي مرتي مو مرتي.
ماشي كثير منيح، بس على وقتها تبقى ما بتعرفني ابدا.
ما بدي اعبر، انا ما بدي اعبر، اصلا انا لو الدكتور عادل وعزته انا ما
روح اسال الدكتور عادل عني، بيقول لك
ما في داعي اساله. عرفتك خلص، انا عرفتك.
عرفتني. عم تحكي له عني؟ لك عم تتصحي يا حسام، ولك انت ما بتعرفي انه اذا شميت بعمل جريمه.
يا هشام يا بتطلع علي انا ما برجع لك بحياتي. ان كان في حلوه ولا ما في حلوه سمعان؟ بعد شو ذنبه هالكلمه؟ شو ذنبه؟
So I'll describe the rest of the episode. As you can imagine, a wonderful night is implied. They wake up the next morning and are forced to make a tearful goodbye when Nadia returns to her first husband. He's still cute, uses a practice originally intended to prevent men from divorcing and remarrying their wives at whim, to serve as a metonym of Islamic law's unsuitability to contemporary society. Its screenwriter, leading Syrian novelist Nihal Cerise, sought to punish the stupid husband, as he put it, for his rash behavior. Cerise notes that modern-day audiences took several scenes to understand the reason for the character's ostensibly bizarre behavior. In conceiving the story, he sought to explore how human beings find love in the strangest and most sensitive moments in their lives. Cerise's lack of cultural specificity here is lacking. Small details point to a global modernity. Hisham's car is booted when parked illegally outside a courthouse. He relies on a mobile phone to interrupt the couple. Sharif and Nadia lunch at a posh restaurant before retreating to Sharif's modern upscale apartment. The new couple's conversation about their failed marriages could take place anywhere. Sharif's wife never appreciated him and decided to immigrate, while Nadia would have left Hisham earlier had it not been for her children. Hisham, excuse me. The cosmopolitan setting and highlight what the episode's creators see as the pre-modernity, even the absurdity, of Sharia. Through what I term a signature dark aesthetic, creators of contemporary drama converse with an ambiguous past. Works set in the present unfold against a backdrop of ghostly shadows. Holdovers in contemporary practice, they suggest, hinder progress. Vestiges of the past signify a lingering backwardness that hobbles the system. Progressive secular drama creators counter what they deem the retrograde pathologies of a flawed evolution. Paradoxically, the project they promote itself appears a relic. Thank you.
This one's more technologically advanced than me, so I need to find out who. Okay, this one's better. Okay, well, thank you so much for that wonderful talk and clips. Did you want to shoot a third clip or no?
Let's see
how it goes.
How question and answer goes.
We're open for questions. None? There's, okay, so the one back there and then there's another one right there.
Hello, I'm Omar Ghazi from the University of Sheffield. Thank you, Christa, for this very interesting talk. I was curious about if you could elaborate more on the link between basically the memory aspect and the idea of national failure with basically with social drama in this sense, and the clips that you showed basically. So I wasn't sure if I completely understood that thing. Thank you.
Once you answer.
Thanks. Oh, it's a really good question, and the link. I realize that the clip that I showed you, which is my favorite, didn't quite exemplify that particular link. Others do, because there's a lot of dialogue and monologue that talks about what went wrong, and very much in the guise of the individual talking about Syria, talking about the nation, and belonging to a nation and mourning for a nation.
Very interesting. I just wanted to ask you about more contemporary times. I mean, I don't know, quite a lot of your examples are some years ago. I mean, is this industry still going at the same sort of level now, and are some of the themes changing? Or is it still going on in the same, I mean, obviously meaningful but slightly surreal way?
Yes, it is still going on, and I mentioned a few examples, and I would have shown you a clip had I had time of a recent series, the one that I talked about where the camera pans the informal settlement, and the lead protagonist asks, how did this happen? That was from Ramadan 2016. The Hara Shabiya Ishwaiya, the informal settlements, have become refugee camps or downtrodden neighborhoods in Beirut. So it does continue very much in the same vein. And what's also happening is with a lot of series that are trying to deal with what's going on in the war, is a kind of trying to toe a middle line and see both sides and talk about suffering, because everybody's suffering. And that's even true of those that are filmed outside Syria and don't really have to go through censorship. There's still a sense of, there's like a projection into the future where people see that they want to rebuild.
Because a lot of the Syrian artists and producers have left the country and are now making films and dramas in other countries about their predicament. That must also be an interesting study.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's almost getting to be a question mark, what is a Syrian drama, because so many of them are made abroad. And the industry tends to define Syrian drama makers, when there's enough of a density of Syrians involved in the production. But they cannot be filmed in Syria and have, and be done by a Jordanian production company and shown on a Pan-Arab satellite station and really never reach Syrian soil physically. Although they, of course, are aired.
There's
I want to ask about what kind of past you're referring to. The past, is it 100 years ago, 500 years ago? Is it national? Like, what kind of history that is referred to in the context we're exploring?
Okay. Two things happen with the way the past is used. The distant past is used to, particularly Al-Andalus, Islamic Spain, is used to signify a moment of idealized harmony, perceived religious tolerance. This is how they are portraying a kind of imagined ideal of Islamic Spain. Cosmopolitanism, all of which it implies is lacking in the contemporary condition. The series that I'm working on are these contemporary social series, and they use a more recent past. As I mentioned, it's generally the immediate post-independence moment where they feel that that's the beginning of things going wrong, where progress looked like it was just on the horizon, and a better life for all, and social justice, and participatory government as well. Syria had a parliament. So that's really the past that they're looking at. And when they're looking at the other past, or a more distant past, or more social issues driven from the past, derived from the past, then it's ambiguous. This practice goes way back. So there's not an easy answer to that. Very good question.
I see, like, for example, Malakata, in the
Mm-hmm,
series,
mm-hmm.
it kind of promotes the opposite. It kind of, it doesn't promote, I don't think, but it kind of depicts a patriarchal, more conservative society where the males are the dominant. And this series was a kind of a hit, and it was on for 7 years. So, I mean, how do you? I mean, what's this kind of the dominant narrative here in the Syrian series? Do we ignore, the show, like it's about how? What can we interpret the existence of such counter show a breakdown to others?
And counter histories?
Not history. I think it's historical. It's longing for history, but it's a different history, right? It's a history of the one which is not post-independence. It's not
Yes, it's very much in contrast to Al-Andalus, Hatem Ali's.
There are different histories.
There are. That's exactly what I'm saying. And I haven't gone into the folkloric Bia Shamia, given time constraints, but that's the nostalgia. And even when it's portrayed as patriarchal, it somehow takes on a kind of comforting, distancing glow of this is the way things are, this is the way things were. And it doesn't really refer to the present in terms of its gender politics.
Thank you, Christa, for this one. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. You asked me about my feedback, so I'll give you the feedback now. It's, I think, very good to be brave enough to take a stand against the mainstream and to credit the people who worked hard for not only years, but I think the Syrian art goes back to 19th century, pioneered the Arab arts in many genres, written and in performance, etc. I think concerning the art which is going on, because I follow it, still there are many people who left, but there are lots of people, and especially young, new voices. So the Dar el Opera is still open and do lots of festivals. Lots of people are producing films. My brother himself is a filmmaker, a new one, so he has his film is shown now somewhere. I graduated from the Academy of Theatre, so people are still working. These people who you've shown, all they are graduate of the Academy of Theatre, studied the recent theories, and they have all this, accumulation of experience. And so that I think the war hopefully will not be able to cut all that and stop it. From the experience of other culture like France, the cultural division in the Second World War between right and left, it was a time to test and experience and to try new devices. So I hope this will be also like a phase where the Syrian arts will be able to survive and come back strong, and also influence not only Syria but also the whole region, because they were, like you said, very brave in bringing, and they were able to secure by force that autonomy for themselves. As you, that was very, very good. This is, I think, the main focus of for me, for your presentation. Nobody was able to invade their territory completely. They were always able to go into that territory and try always, the new things and the new questions. Thank you very much.
Is there a question?
This is no. I said because you asked me to about.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
This is just a comment. I think it's very, very illuminating what I heard, and I think it's very brave. And I would love to know how do you teach your students, because the international media goes completely against that, and not allow even speaking about positive things which going on. The country, yes, is torn apart by war, but still people, Syrian people, they were at the vanguard of Arab modernism since 18th century, and you can't just destroy that in a couple of years. There is still, they were their women and also wrote and they played the piano and sang and had literature in the 19th century. So I hope this will be able to help them to go through that and survive. So I wonder how you teach this.
I think it will. First of all, I mean the industry is surviving, pretty much thriving. I mean it's at half its its pre-war production, at 20 to 25 series a year, where they used to do like 40 to 45, and those are just the ones shown during Ramadan. So it's actually weathering this terrible war. And I think the professionalism, a lot of creative dissident culture has emerged from the uprising, and a lot of young cultural producers claimed that they were going to supplant the state-controlled sycophants who had towed the party line as they saw it. But what's happened is that the established culture producers still have just what you're talking about: experience, talent. I mean, I didn't get a chance to go into this, but basically the country's leading writers, novelists and poets, are writing for the small screen. It would be the equivalent of Philip Roth and Jonathan Franzen writing for Hollywood. That's the level of intellect that's involved. And I mean this in a positive sense, amateurs, people who've just recently taken it up, who are not trained, who haven't gone through a vetting process, however corrupt, within Syria, cannot really compete with this kind of quality.
Hi, Reem Khabat from Syria. I just want to mention something about the Syrian drama. Usually, I used to be very like the drama and follow all the series, the Syrian series. And before the war, we used to have a lot of drama that reflect the society and corruptions, and we have a lot about Muslim societies, especially about Sheikh, and especially before the revolution, they started to screen about the terrorist, groups, people who, I noticed that so much. But after the war, we have two kind of series. We have some people who writes inside Syria, drama for the Syrian maybe, and we have someone who left Syria and started to write different drama.
And you have a few that are a blend.
Yeah. So my question: how do you feel like that the war reflects through the Syrian series drama after how it's different? Do you feel like it's more focusing on politics or more on religion?
In the immediate aftermath, or the beginning of the war, it wasn't really taken up as much as it was later, when it was difficult to ignore, and you kind of got series that people read as allegories, like Refrain, Apology, which was about gender relations and marital betrayal, but a lot of people thought even the title reflected some kind of post-war reconciliation. Then the series began to address the conflict more directly, and you had Tomorrow We'll Meet Again, which set conversations and debates about the Syrian uprising and war in a Beirut dilapidated neighborhood. And the key, as I said, the key feature, and I think they're using it as a uniting mechanism, is the shared suffering.
So
I don't know if that answers.
Do you feel like the Islamic issues become less important?
I feel like actual dealing with Islam was more sophisticated before in the previous series. The post-war series do deal with, they have to deal with the specter of armed Islam, of the Islamic armed opposition. But I don't see the treatment being quite as deep in analysis as it was before. And I think that's just simply because the war has taken over and its concerns. Yes?
I remember that after 2011, many actors in Syria were asked to identify themselves as either with the government or against the government.
Absolutely.
And there was this shame list,
yes,
of those who are against with the government, with Bashar al-Assad. I'm just wondering, does this have to happen? How does it affect the audience? And did it affect the audience? Did it really matter if you are with or against the government? And does it affect the production?
This is an extremely important question that deserves a lot more time than we have, and stop me when you need to. But
almost immediately.
Basically speaking, screenwriters tend to be oppositional figures, and many leading actors, the leading ones, tend to be pro-regime, and that disappointed a lot of people who were fans because they're the face of drama. But my argument is that the brains of drama is with the opposition.
And on that note, this has been another wonderful session. So,